Welcome to the Cincy Postcast. I'm Kevin Wallace, and before we get started with today's episode, I get to tell you about our good friends over at Streetside Brewery. That's right, new year, and they are back with us 2026. We keep the ball rolling. So happy to have these guys on board. Look, they are the best brewery in the city. They're located on the east side of Cincinnati, Columbia-Tusculum area, and they're doing great stuff over there. Delicious beers, friendly staff. It's a great environment. So happy to have them back on board. If you have not tried any of their delicious beers or have gone and just checked out the great environment they have over there, you are missing out. For away games, it is absolutely the place to be. It is a great spot to watch the games. They're an FCC pub partner. All good stuff. So huge thank you to Streetside for sponsoring this and so many other episodes of the Postcast. And on today's episode, well, it's been a little bit, all right? First episode of the new year, so we've got some news to catch up on, okay? Luca Orellano, what's he doing? What is this new wingback potentially floating out there in South America, headed to FCC? And Chris Albright spoke to the media right after we recorded the last episode. So we're going to go back to that, look at some of his comments. How did he view 2025? Maybe some hints as to what we might look for in 2026. Who knows? I think if you put it all together, you end up with a nice, refreshing, cold glass of Cincy Postcast. Joining me to talk about all of that and more, finally, it's been way too long, gentlemen. I am joined by the Chief. I am joined by Grayson. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Chief, how are we doing in 2026?
Second verse, same as the first, I guess. I don't know. I always enjoy this idea that, 2026, new year, new me, or, new year, this year, everything's going to change, everything's going to be different. It's an arbitrary day we pick. And I have noticed as I've gotten older that I'm not really in the business of changing. The world around me seems to be the same exact spot. But I do enjoy this time of year tremendously just because most people are going to be listening to this on Monday.
Right.
And Monday is just a gut punch of a day where after you've been living sort of in this minor time warp between Christmas and New Year's,
yes,
all of a sudden going back to work and being like, oh, yeah. That's when it really sets in that the only thing different between 2025 and 2026 is a number that I'm going to forget to change on a lot of things that I write. So,
yeah. Grayson, I have a proposal for you. Why don't we build the whole plane out of the last 2 weeks of December when it comes to the workplace?
Yeah, sure.
Just nothing gets done.
Nothing would ever.
Society manages for 2 weeks. Why are we all working that hard the other times?
I don't know. I mean, some of us have workplaces that don't shut down.
And totally fair.
For these
totally
last
fair.
2 weeks,
We call them essential workers.
Not everybody is like a Frenchman or a Hollywood development executive, So it's interesting because there's a few things that people talk. Sometimes there's stuff that people talk about where it's just like, oh, I don't have any frame of reference for that,
right?
Or it's like this doesn't resonate with me at all.
Yeah,
and some of the stuff is it's like PTO, vacation.
Sure.
I'm just not getting anything done these last 2 weeks. It just because in my job, I just have a quantity of work, and it gets added to every day. And so And so, like, I have to do the quantity at some point in time. And, you know, if I go out of town or whatever, it just means, like, I work more later, right? Or I work while I'm out of town, you know, so...
Keep the pile small,
yeah,
sure.
which hence the Monday return, where, very similarly, I have a quantity of work that needs to get done. It just wasn't getting done for the last,
I was in the
5
office
days.
for 4 hours yesterday.
No, I don't want to ease back into it. I want to just be like walloped upside the head on Monday with just back to reality right now.
The cold plunge of work.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of wading into the pool. I just want to jump right in, and I'll figure out how cold it is when my feet hit the bottom. That's sort of like where this week finds me. For the two of you, either of you get anything fun for Christmas at all? Anything off your list? Anything?
I'm president of Venezuela.
There you go.
Congratulations!
Congrats, man.
That was a big surprise.
Did I miss an election?
They don't need them.
No,
I asked the
Waste
same
of
question.
time.
I asked the same question. They said we don't need them.
Anyone on there want to come in on a U-22 deal for us?
We got one. I wonder how his day's going.
So, for the purposes of FIFA eligibility now, are all the Venezuelans eligible for the U.S. men's national team? Does this shake up the depth chart at all?
I haven't looked, but I guarantee you one of the worst burners online is already floating this possibility and workshopping what the next U-22 World Cup will look, U-23 World Cup will look like with a combination of U.S. and Venezuelan teenagers.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, because I think if you're born in Puerto Rico, like you can play for Puerto Rico or the U.S. Right?
Right, yeah.
So, you know, seems kind of the same thing.
Yeah, for the last 72 hours, anybody born in Venezuela is also eligible for the U.S. men's national team.
I mean, first he says that we need to change the NFL because soccer is the real football. Then he goes and adds to the player pool. Many people asking, is he the soccer president?
Johnny Infantino would say yes. Absolutely.
Kevin, I'm excited because I was talking to the missus over break because I missed you guys a lot and I referred to you frequently. And I made mention of your book of questions that got us through, some content lulls and whatnot.
Yeah.
Well, I have something to compete with the book of questions now that was something that I received in my family, in my in-laws' Christmas white elephant gift exchange.
Ooh, please.
It is this. I'm showing it to you right now. There is nothing on it because it's a very old book.
Okay.
It is from 1972.
Okay.
The Encyclopedia of One-Liner Comedy.
Oh, no.
And so it is nothing but 1972 humor on any number of topics. And that cuts a lot of different ways in terms of how canceled do we want to be on this podcast.
Oh, no.
Doing live readings from this book. So
is there anything sports related? I'm going to assume there is no soccer.
Yeah, I don't think soccer was big enough to make the cut here.
It's I was a little worried when you were like, "Oh, it's they have a blank cover and it's from the 70s." I was a little worried it was going to be Camp of the Saints. But this works. Also, like, you're allowed. You can say whatever you want now.
This is true.
Comedy's legal.
Everything is legal.
Let's
You
put
can
that
be president of Venezuela, for all anyone knows. There is a sports section, Kevin. I'm just going to read you the first sentence, the first phrase of the first joke in the sports section. The reason women have never done well.
Oh, great. No, that's a great premise.
We don't need to go forward on that.
Jeez, oh Pete.
The sports section was submitted by Jimmy the Greek.
Look, if it helps you win your bets, it helps you win your bets, okay?
Man, that's great. So somebody was thinking of you, or did you end up?
No, I just grabbed it out of a pile.
Oh,
I read
nice.
one.
Okay.
I read one joke in the politics section, and I was like, I gotta have this. This is just.
What was the joke? What was the joke that sold? Because surely that one is not cancelable.
No, it's definitely cancelable. That's part of the reason why it sold me on it. I was like, hell yeah. They don't make it like they used to right here.
Oh, God. No, unfortunately, my favorite gift was left upstairs. So for the visual medium, this is not going to work well. But it is a sort of generic door hanging or sort of like hang on the wall sign that you can tell is made for like all the different sports teams and whatever else. And it says, I live on coffee and then they plug in whatever team it is. So it'd be like, and the Bengals and the Browns. But it says, I live on coffee and the FC Cincinnati, which I really liked. That it's the FC Cincinnati. So we're just one step closer to the FC.
Right. It's the FC.
Yeah. The Cincinnati is just extra.
I got a rocks glass with the Matterhorn.
Look at you. That's fun.
Yeah. See? The Post can celebrate. The Post says Merry Christmas. We get all these fun gifts with one another. We get to share them with our podcast friends right now. Yeah. We haven't done this in a minute. I was actually talking about how long it's been, and we were on the group thread sort of planning out how are we going to do this episode. And it occurred to me that we have been so long without a live episode because we did the Dungeons and Dragons episode for the holidays. Thank you to everyone, all 15 of you that made it through that. If you didn't, you missed a hell of a good time. I'm sorry, but
the metrics on the D&D episode is always just the funniest thing in the entire world.
You're just noping out where it's like, they're on their bullshit again.
Yes.
But it has been so long since we actually talked ball that our last episode we released was on December 15th. The Chris Albright 30-minute press conference was December 16th. So it has been so long since we have been back to offer takes that we never even had a chance to address Albright's 30-minute opus to end the season. So, Kevin, where in God's name do we start picking up the pieces and moving on for the 2026 season? Where do we start?
I mean, I think the big takeaway, and what I think Chris started with, was basically just saying that 2025 wasn't good enough. And I think as a fan of the team, I think that is a great place to start because I think for a lot of teams in MLS, the FC Cincinnati 2025 season would be fantastic. I mean, hell, for a good number of these teams, it would be one of their best seasons ever. And at least regular season, trophies aside. And I'm happy to see that that is not what they took from this. That, we were a point off of the supporter shield. Everything went according to plan. We get lucky here or there, and we have a trophy or two, and let's just run it back. And I appreciate that Albright's takeaway was that was not good enough, that they got some things wrong. And granted, there's only so many things that they can change, just like contract-wise. But it does seem to be that they're making the changes that are going to be the easiest and most straightforward, which I appreciate. They aren't necessary. And we've seen, say, other professional teams in Cincinnati not make those same changes.
I think why the season was not good enough when other teams would be happy with it is this was like a going for it, or like the going for it maybe season, right? By all reporting, I mean, you could maybe quibble with these numbers a little bit and point out like what isn't being shared, but by all reporting, they really maxed out the budget resources that were available to them, right? They had 4 U22s, they had 2 DPs, they were buying out contracts and shipping out guys for basically free to make sure they had enough space to bring in the additions they brought in the summer. They reported that they had no GAM left over at the end of the season. So in MLS, because of the salary cap and because, to keep players, you have to give them raises, which means they eat into the cap more, which means you have less of an ability to build around them, and it's a little harder to cycle through contracts because you can only do 2 buyouts. You know, you find yourself most teams. You know, we're not talking about Miami, but most teams, you know, find themselves like going into cycles, right? Where just by virtue of it, you know, you have windows where you're at like your apex contention, and then you're in like building years. And, like, hopefully, you know, you stay in the playoffs through that whole time. But, you know, if you look at the top tier franchises around the league, like someone like Seattle comes to mind. You know, like they're usually pretty good. They're usually in the playoffs. They're usually at least in like the middle of the playoff hunt. And then in a couple of years, they're at like the very top, right? And so failing to get it done and to win anything when you're at your peak, you know, you're in your all-in season, that could not just mean that you don't win a trophy that year. It could mean you don't win a trophy for several years, you know, or your likelihood of winning a trophy within like a 5-year window is much smaller.
Yeah,
you know,
it's harder.
And so,
yeah,
I think that's why this season hit a little harder. Is we were getting messaging and just looking at the roster, like this team is as stacked as they've ever been. They're maxing out the spend. Albright is going on the radio and talking about how this is like one of the deepest teams he's ever seen in MLS. And then time and again, when it came time to like really put up to like, this is like a must-win game to advance or to like stay in a trophy hunt, they folded. Yeah. And they just like they didn't just like fall short. They were clearly not good enough in those moments. Yeah. You know, like they weren't all that close. They weren't all that close to advancing in Leagues Cup. They were not that close to Tigres when they got knocked out of Champions League. You know, they got blown out twice in MLS Cup playoffs. So like that's why it hits harder. And I don't think I'm being too harsh here. I'm just saying that like that's why a season that if Sporting Kansas City had our season, they'd feel great. But Sporting Kansas City doesn't have a roster. You know, they have a roster that has a lot of room to improve.
Actually, that day of recording, it's not clear that they have a roster. I don't know if you're taking a look.
The big disagreement that I have with that, though, is that like I don't know that last year was any more going for it than any year has been since 2023 in terms of, they maxed out their U22s and they maxed out their DPs. But do you really want to say that when they went into 2024 that they weren't going for it? They, you know, or in 2023, bringing in Aaron Bupenza, you know, at the transfer window, wasn't going for it. You know, 2024, they get rid of Bupenza. They ship him out for nothing. You know, by all accounts, they managed to find a way to avoid having to pay him. But still, they ate the entire transfer fee they paid to get Aaron Bupenza. They didn't get that money back. They got off the hook for the money they would have owed him, but they just took a straight write-off on the money they paid to get him out of town. And by all accounts, they tried really, really hard at the trade deadline to make a huge splash move and go for it in 2024. And they went for it in 2025. And just my point with this is I really don't know, or I don't think we have a great sense what a not going for it year under Chris Albright looks like. I don't know if we'll see it this upcoming year, but they've been in go for it mode for 3 straight years. And I think there's reasons that you can point to suggest why 2026 may not be a go for it year. You can point to the state of the roster currently. You can point to the fact that, you know, there's going to be some changes to the way that the salary system works in MLS in 2027. And to what degree are you making plans for that as opposed to maximizing your window in 2026, knowing that there's going to be a sea change in how business is done? I don't know. But, like, I think it's a little reductive to suggest that 2025 was some, you know, once in a time period opportunity where I don't know that there's any reason, given the players that they are going to have available on the roster next year, I don't know that there's any reason why this team can't also be in go for it mode in 2026 as well.
So three quick things about that. One, I don't think I said, and I apologize if I did, I don't think I said that like you only have like one go for a year in a time period. You know, like Albright himself was talking about like a window, and I think it is like a more of a window where you have like a period of years where you have like contracts hitting the right way. You have guys on good contracts, guys on prime level deals. Like you had Matt Miazga, you know, he ended up getting hurt, which is not the team's fault, but like you had Matt Miazga on a TAM deal in his prime for a couple of years, right? You had Miles coming in 24 and 25. And you had Lucho 23 and 24. You had Evander, who was a top couple of players, if you ask most commentators around the league. And then you had the, at the time, record transfer signing this year. So I think I agree with Chief that there is like a couple of year period where you're in your window. But like there's an argument, and we'll see what the roster looks like, but I think there's an argument that we are on the downswing of the window we were in and trying to find our way into another window. Because, you know, like you've got Miazga on his option year. You've got Hidebe on $1 million plus. Miles has not graduated into a designated player contract. And your U22s are basically spoken for, although maybe you could buy one or two of them off of that slot, depending on what their transfer fees were. It's just like there's a lot of money spoken for at this point in time. So it's like the opportunities to like make huge additions to the roster are closed for a period of time, and then you also have the fact that like your players on big contracts are aging, or they're getting to the end of their contract. You know, so you like we're going to be certainly at the end of this season in like a replacement phase for a lot of these guys. Two, I think they made a decision in 24 that because of what was going on with Lucho, they weren't probably going to win because, like, you know, they reportedly they could have gone from 20 to 25 on Josh Sargent if that was a guy who they thought was worth 20. You know, I know they had some other guys fall through, but there was
the reporting is all unanimous that they were trying to get something done, and they just I don't know that you can disbelieve that. But
you even said at the time, if I recall correctly, you said at the time that if like Sargent was your guy, just go to 25 for him.
Sure, but it's not my money. I'm not pocket watching the owner, and it's like, I get that. Like, to me, the answer is if he's worth 20 to you, he's worth 20. Like, it's $5 million. You're a billionaire. I don't care. But like, it is not the first time in history that a team has been that's too much for that player. We're not going to be suckered into paying way more than this player is worth, regardless of how we feel about him.
Yeah, but like, you know, Joe Keeney was not the splash signing that they needed in 24, right? So maybe it's a difference between. So I guess my second point is that there is an argument that they didn't go for it in 24 because they thought that just the deal wasn't right there and they could kick to this season, which didn't work out. And the third point is, you know, again, this is a little bit more of like that feeling of us falling out of the window, but there was clearly a big gap when it came down to it between them and the teams that knocked them out of trophies or that ended up, you know, winning trophies in the competitions that they played. You know, I know it was just a 1 point gap with Philly, but when they played Philly, they got played off the field twice. Yeah. You know, and they're now in a situation where they don't have a lot of options to like grow by leaps and bounds to improve their roster, and the teams that were already ahead of them, to the extent there was a talent gap. So, like, for example, to the extent there was a talent gap between Miami and them to end the year, that's gotten bigger.
Yeah, but Miami's not worth talking about. They're clearly breaking the rules, and there's nothing you can do to compete with that. Like, that's off the table. Well, I'm not gonna get into that game with them.
I think that's a different conversation, because I do think that while I agree that Miami is breaking the rules left and right and getting all types of special treatment, if you want to keep watching the games and want to keep being a fan, like, you need to kind of hold that thought simultaneously with, like, my team needs to do everything it possibly can to be better than Miami. You know? Otherwise, I don't know.
Also break the rules.
Otherwise,
clone Leo Messi? Like what? Like,
I don't know. Otherwise, I don't know. Like maybe. Otherwise, I guess turn the league off for 2 years. You know?
Or hope that or you never want to you wish ill on somebody, but maybe.
I suspect in a World Cup year, his involvement with Inter Miami will be a little different. Could be wrong about that.
Does he still play for Argentina?
Yeah, his intention is to play. Well, he's retired from the national team like 4 times. So,
okay.
As far as I know, he's intending to play in this last World Cup. But no, just real quick to Grayson's point about Miami maybe not following the rules. Least anybody think that is us being just sour grapes. The Athletic did an anonymous GM survey the last couple of years, and at least last year, maybe the last 2 years, there was a question posed to the GMs and sporting officers of MLS teams asking, do you think Miami is following the rules? And I want to say a majority, at least a very large percentage of them said, no, they are playing by different rules. So
yeah,
you don't have to take our word for it.
And you can look at stuff on your own and just know, because like there's it's not just like not following the rules, it's also the league clearly greasing the tracks for them. So yeah, like they carried more international players than they reportedly had international slots basically all season last year.
Yeah.
The DePaul deal, the option that wasn't really an option. Everybody who is Tom Bogert said that if it's not a real option, then it needs to count against, then he needs to be a DP. And everyone knows it wasn't a real option, so draw your conclusions there. You had the fact that when they sold Gregory at a loss, there was a 1 window long rule change that allowed you to convert GAM for a DP that you sold at a loss.
Yep.
That rule did not exist before the transfer window that they sold Gregory in, and they changed it after that transfer window.
Yeah.
The fact that Montreal gave $1.3 million in GAM to them plus Kamal Miller for Bryce Duke, who, like, I don't know, is Bryce Duke even in MLS anymore?
I don't know, honestly.
And then, honestly, I've got my hackles a little raised on the Drake Callender trade.
Yeah.
Where Charlotte traded a boatload of GAM for Drake Callender to park Drake Callender on that bench, and they just moved him to Minnesota for less than they paid Miami.
Took a loss on it. I asked a couple of Charlotte fans about that. I was like, how do you feel about your team doing this? And I don't know if I'm talking to the dumbest people in the world. It's very possible. But their take was, well, he lit a fire under Kalina's butt, and so Kalina played better after that.
Yeah, there's no way.
And so it was worth it. I was like, no, this is the most blatant thing. I'll throw in there, I wouldn't call this cheating, but certainly a greasing of the wheels. I'm still annoyed that they were awarded by FIFA, not MLS, allegedly, the host spot for the Club World Cup, which entitled them to $2 million in GAM that no other team other than Seattle Sounders and then LAFC found out, I think, a week before the competition that they were also going to be entitled to. So that was a nice little bonus for them. So
The overall point, though, from Albright's press conference, which I think that like was my big takeaway from it, and it goes to Grayson's point a little bit. I'm not as down on where we sit in 2026 as I think he might be, but the biggest overall takeaway that I had from Albright's press conference is that, at least from if you read between the lines in terms of what Albright is saying, the message Albright had to the media was basically that we think these are good players who didn't perform to the level that we think they needed to perform to. And you hear talk about unlocking Kevin Denke, unlocking Evander, and he's asked point blank about this idea of, I think by Laurel Pfahler, about what do you do to replace the goals that are leaving this team with the inability to, retain Brenner due to the option issue with Udinese. And his answer is basically, we think there are more goals on the field from Kevin Denke and Evander that we didn't get. And I think it's hard not to see that as a little bit of, throwing under the bus is a harsh phrasing, but a little bit of looking at what Noonan and his coaching staff were doing last year and saying, I got you a roster and you didn't make the most of what you needed to do in order to get these players right and get these players performing. And, it's repeated a little bit when he talks in the press conference about, I was sitting watching this team in July last year, and I was like, this is not what it needs to be. And if I could see it in July, I started working on what's the solution to that problem. So I thought this press conference was fascinating from that standpoint specifically, that we had been wondering, and we debated on this show ad nauseum, tactics versus talent. And, obviously as the man that picks the talent, he might have a bias here. But Albright's press conference was as forceful as I think I've ever heard him in terms of, I believe that we needed to shake up what we were doing on the field and a little less, on the team sheet.
Yeah.
I think
Eric Grayson, real quick. I just want to say, Carter Chapley also had this. I'm reading his live tweet of that press conference here. But to add to that, he said, this is Carter quoting Chris Albright, quote, I don't know that we grew a ton over the course of the season. It felt like we hung on more and we kept adding personnel in trying to augment this system. Ultimately, we probably didn't see the level of growth that we all hoped for. And just to quickly add on to what you were saying, Chief, Albright may be looking to blame the coaching staff for the lack of evolution of the team. Last year, he was more than happy to put the hand up and say, I didn't get the deal for the striker done in time. And, so we know he's like willing and able to fall on the sword when the personnel isn't there. And I think they've even been willing to say, like, yeah, guys like Yamil Assad were a surprise to us. They didn't intend to sign him to be a starter. So I think, yes, you're correct. But I'll also add that Albright does seem maybe humble in these press conferences about his talent acquisition, which I think adds to the coaching criticism here.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things you can point to from the press conference and also just a couple of external things as well. Like, one is, this is honestly something I wish I could, ask Albright about, to be honest, because he talked about, we're going to look more at XG as a target metric. And, as I understand it, XG is not something that you necessarily try to get more of versus something else. It's a reflection of how effective your tactics are at generating opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. And I have a hard time believing that they weren't trying to generate opportunities. You know what I mean?
I agree with you to a certain extent, but also I've been itching to talk ball with you guys. So I've been talking ball with any number of people. Just, you want to talk FC Cincinnati, I'll text your ear off. But I was talking with somebody earlier today, actually, prepping for recording for this. And when you say focus on XG, it's interesting that you say we're going to focus on XG and not XG differential. Because to a certain extent, in this league, goal scoring is OP. And you're not really worried about, like, I think that you're less worried, and it bears out in the statistics. XG is highly correlated with success in winning trophies. XG differential, not so much. It's basically, it's looking at the XG. And were they not focused on scoring goals? No, obviously I think they were focused on scoring goals. I'd have a lot of questions if goal scoring wasn't one of their focuses. But maybe a little too much was focused on goal prevention and goal avoidance in the tactical setup, as opposed to being willing to risk it all and actually be brave and go and make the move in order to try and find the goal. And that there was at times the play got too conservative, and then as a result of the play being too conservative, I think it was Doyle that pointed this out, that they get into a rut and they get frustrated and they overcommit, and then when they overcommit, they open themselves up. Well, if you don't reach a frustration point and you're actually, like, doing things that are productive within the system, maybe you don't worry as much, or you don't have those breakdowns on defense like you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I could just play devil's advocate for a moment of why focus on XG? What were they doing ahead of time? I think it's possible that the offensive game plan was to generate shots and opportunities and chances that most XG models would measure as being not great. But if you have the personnel and you think you have the plan to capitalize on them more, you might be able to pull it off. I'm trying to imagine a world where, like, the three-point line doesn't exist, but you still have Steph Curry. Like, is taking uncontested outside shots better? No. But if you got a guy who can sink them, nonstop, it becomes more viable to take those chances. So maybe playing for free kicks, giving guys the green light to shoot from outside of the box more often, ultimately creates an offense that is fine with low XG opportunities, but might still be, I don't want to say effective, but profitable, but not as effective as a different offensive model.
Yeah,
I'm defending an argument that's not necessarily being made, but yeah.
The outside shots and stuff needs to be additive. Like, you need to be able to pass the ball into the box and get good shots. And the Chief, you mentioned the offensive side and versus the XG differential, and I do think that the differential is something worth calling out here, because the XG differential for this team was shocking. It was like great. Bottom of the East.
Yeah, but it's mostly a function of the fact they didn't score goals and they didn't create good goal scoring opportunities. You look at good teams,
but if you look at XG against, they're also like bottom third. Like they were pretty good on actual goals scored against, which is great. But XG against, they were bottom third. I don't remember exactly where they were, but that's like for as much money as you're spending on defense and playing three center backs, right? Like that's shocking. Yeah. And then the long range shots dried up for them.
Yes.
And they really didn't have any good ways of consistently generating. Like, even Kevin Denke called it out in his end of season press conference that he had something like 18 goals in all comps and like 11 XG. And we've mentioned this before. Like, he's got an incredible conversion rate. If you get him the XG that like Sam Surridge gets, he'll put in a ton of goals. But I think that another thing to that kind of makes sense to fit in here is there's two kind of, I guess, external things. I think one of them was touched on in the press conference. In fact, I know it was the departure of Dom Kinnear, and I think we've mentioned that.
Yeah.
But like that's another thing where it's like, well, he was more of like the offensive assistant as we understand it, right? And
if you want to pick one guy in the room who probably wasn't down with XG,
and so
it's probably the guy that's been around since before computers were involved in the league.
And so to let go of, 2-time, I think, MLS Cup winning coach, like a legend in the league, is, I think, a pretty strong statement about how you feel the coaching was on the offensive side of the ball. And the other thing that we've seen is the listing for a set-piece coach.
Yeah.
And we know that those were shared between Kenny and Dom, and I think, it certainly makes sense to have somebody who is primarily tasked with set pieces, not just because of MLS, right? But also because you have a guy like Evander.
Yeah.
I don't understand why you wouldn't have a set piece coach, a throw in coach. There's no budget for coaching. There's no salary cap for coaching. I would want as many people that are specialists in various things. I would have a PK coach, like a goalkeeper coach that specifically coaches PKs. I would have an army of people that can help work. Like, if you are the best at doing something, you lose nothing by bringing that person under your umbrella, because you can pay all these people as much or as little as you want. They're all additives. And if bringing in a set piece coach increases your point total by 1, who cares? That's invaluable. Because it didn't cost you a dime on the salary cap.
We would have won the Shield. If it didn't time for the Shield with 1 point.
I don't want to go like the Minnesota route, where you're letting like long throws and set pieces like dominate your identity. But again, just like having a tool bag where Evander can, haul off and take a shot, and other guys on the team can haul off and take a shot. So you have to pay attention to them when they're outside the box. Having like effective set pieces is another thing that can be additive, right? I mean, again, I'm with Chief 100% on this. If it's a couple of goals a year you get off set pieces, and then also maybe the set piece coach will also help them design defending set pieces where they were also vulnerable. That's invaluable.
Yeah.
And what's a set piece coach go for? It can't be that much.
No.
It's like a low totem pole guy on the coaching staff.
Right. He's barely going to qualify getting the Parker with his initials on it. You're not saying
Chip Kelly took the Northwestern offensive coordinator job. He was available.
I love
Lane Kiffin.
Grayson's.
We know Lane Kiffin will move for the right price. The other thing that I thought was interesting about this press conference was it was, as best I can recall, the first opportunity that the media has had to ask Chris Albright directly about the Miles Robinson contract.
Yeah.
And he said pretty much what you would expect him to say in this type of a soundbite type of situation. I wish there had been a little more pushback, but I understand that's not possibly the right place or setting for this. Basically saying that, number one, there are multiple ways to win and multiple ways to build your roster in MLS, and that equating this to the 2023 season, where FC Cincinnati won Supporters' Shield, as he said, with a designated player in the middle and a designated player, 2 designated players on the offensive side, 1 designated player on the defensive side, with Brenner and Lucho, and then with later Aaron Papenza, but then Obina Wobodo playing defensive midfield. And the idea of okay, you've got a defensive player as a designated player, and that was the most successful watermark for FC Cincinnati in the club's history. I had this thought over break while we were away that I feel very sorry for Miles Robinson. Not so much in that, he's a multimillionaire. I think he's probably doing all right as a pro athlete.
Yeah.
But just this idea that I can already see it now, that every problem this team has on offense or on defense is going to be put on the back of Miles Robinson. Because if this team is struggling to score goals, his contract, his DP status is the reason why. Well, you could have kept Brenner, or you could have gotten out and gotten another center back to help or another designated player to help the offense. But Miles Robinson took that, and we can't have that. If the defense is bad and they're letting goals in, well, you have Miles Robinson as a designated player center back. Why isn't that enough to stop goals? And it's just listening to Albright defend this again or talk about this again. It dawned on me in this moment. Maybe I should have I've had this thought, but maybe it didn't crystallize fully until this, that everything that happens in the 2026 season is going to be Miles Robinson's fault, unless it's good, in which case he will get none of the credit for 2026 going well. And they will be succeeding in spite of the fact that they have Miles Robinson on a designated player deal. I just don't know that I've ever seen an athlete in as big of a no-win situation from a PR standpoint as Miles Robinson is going into this year. And that's tough for him. I don't know what you say if you're him about it. He's not the one that's building the roster. He's cashing the check they gave to him. But, that's tough.
Yeah, my view on it is if a player is giving it their all, it's not worth it. You should not be mad at a player because they're overpaid or because you think they're just not good enough in the team or whatever. They didn't offer themselves the contract, right? Miles didn't make himself a DP.
Yeah.
He took the money like anybody would, right? So if his contract does limit the team in some way, it's not his fault. It's the general manager's fault. And that's the target of your frustration. I had a little bit of a nit to pick with Albright's comparison of the Wobodeau DP deal. They just don't seem one-to-one to me. Wobodeau joined a team that was getting DP production out of Brandon Vasquez on a cheap deal, right? The team had 2 18-goal scorers, Lucho at the top of his game. They were getting great production out of elsewhere on the roster, and they had nobody to play that position. So so they signed Wobodeau to fill a glaring hole in the roster that was a huge problem for the team, and allowed
an issue for
them
2
to
or 3 years. Yeah,
yeah, and allowed the team to kind of reach its potential. And even Albright didn't want to make him a DP at the time. He was trying to get him done on a TAM deal, and then ultimately reached an agreement that made Obi barely a DP on a deal that after 3 years he was coming off of that DP spot, right? Because he was just a transfer fee DP,
right,
not a salary DP.
Yeah.
And so that's, in context, an extremely different situation to me than taking somebody already on the roster who's going to be the same player you already have on the roster with other $1 million center backs around him and making him a salary DP where there's no chance he's ever going to come off that spot under his contract, when you're also not getting offensive production from cheaper contracts. I mean, even Albright in this press conference mentioned, we have to get production on offense elsewhere. But I don't think that production. I don't think Jabari is going to have a Brandon Vasquez season next year. This year, maybe I'm wrong, but that's a lot of pressure to put on Jabari, right? To be you got to be an 18-goal scorer on your salary.
Assuming
18 goals your entire life.
Assuming he's the starter, which we don't know at this point. I suspect that, but I don't know that that's the case.
He's in the mix, right?
Yeah.
It's either him or somebody who's not on the roster currently.
Right.
And, query how much space they have to add somebody else at the striker position on this roster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
they did sell
think,
Luka, which helps.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. One thing that is maybe worth keeping in mind here, and definitely goes back to, Grayson, your very first point in this conversation, which is the all-in nature of 2025. Matt Doyle had a great thread on this, basically explaining that these larger free agents in MLS, like he was talking about Justin Hack in this case, but there's some pretty good comparisons to Miles Robinson, which is that teams are limited in what they can offer these guys initially when they leave. And so the real money is in the second contract of the free agent, and basically saying that these guys are signing handshake deals to take the less money to move to the team now. So Miles Robinson leaving Atlanta, where he could have been paid more, to go to Cincy, or Hack leaving NYCFC to go to LA Galaxy, take less money initially so that on the second contract they can get paid as much as possible. I suspect that that is what happened here. And in fact, somebody pulled this up for us. We speculated to this exact fact, or Taylor Twellman was speculating to this fact when Robinson signed. So I view the OB deal similar in that the designated player tag was a temporary deal that was going to change. Just with Miles, it was the other way around, whereas OB started as a DP and wasn't.
Yeah.
But if you'd won an MLS Cup last year, you feel a lot better about that deal.
No, I don't feel bad. But I also, if we won an MLS Cup,
gamble.
No, if we'd have won an MLS Cup and there was a handshake deal to make Miles a designated player, my reaction would have been, sorry, you should have gotten it in writing. Hit the bricks. We can find we can sign Walker Zimmerman as a TAM guy. I'm sorry. Like, there is nothing, and this is the hard part. There is nothing Miles Robinson can do this year that will justify the money he's making and the spot he's taking on the salary. And that's a tough spot for him. He is 1/3 of a defensive back line. He doesn't score goals on a team that's XG challenged. And that's where he's a nice guy. He's a good player. In this league, his salary spot is not justified. And there's just no way that you can deal with that. I'd rather have Justin Hack as a TAM player than Miles Robinson as a designated player, because it opens so many more opportunities to do things. And that's the hard part. And the question I would have asked, and I wanted to ask someone to ask to Chris Albright, so get Miles Robinson's a good player, but is the delta between Miles Robinson and a TAM center back as big as the delta between a TAM striker and a DP striker that you could theoretically sign to pair with Kevin Denke? Like, if you view Ayub Jabari as the platonic ideal of a striker, like body type, game type, like, is the DP version of Ayub Jabari, how much better is that person than Ayub Jabari versus how much better is Miles Robinson than a TAM center back? Because dude wasn't even MLS Best 11 last year. Just wasn't.
Hasn't been the finalist for Defender of the Year for a couple of years.
Right. And so, like, it seems like the only people who think he is worth this spot are the people inside the building. Only people who think that he is the best center back in MLS are inside the building. And at some point, if you're the only person saying something and everybody else is saying something else, I get his point that, like, there's many different ways to win in MLS. Sure. But if no one is winning your way, no one, then maybe some self-reflection before you do that as to maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Like, again, I think Albright cooks. The majority of the things that he does, I like a lot of what he's done. Nothing that he has said about this Miles Robinson deal passes the smell test for me. Because, again, nobody wins this way.
So I'll give you 2 quick points. One, again, going back to the start of the year, anonymous MLS GM survey, Miles Robinson was, in fact, mentioned, if not the outright winner of best center back in Major League Soccer. Again, it's going into the season. Why is he
the best 11? Like, who's?
But I think it was like a couple of. It was like a couple of people, though.
Yeah. No, for sure. But it's not to say he's some random bum. They didn't give.
I'm not saying
Kip
that.
Keller a DP deal. They gave one of say the best 5 center backs in Major League Soccer a DP deal. Still, you can quibble with that. The other thing I will say is I am not going to judge that deal until I see, at 2 points really is what it's going to come down to, is 1, what the roster looks like on match day 1, and 2, what the end result is of the season. If this is what it took to win a trophy, then great. That was brilliant. If we get a Premier League striker on loan for half the season and he scores 15 goals before the World Cup break, hell yeah. Absolutely. It made perfect sense. So I'm not going to judge that until I know what this looks like in the end. We also, I mean, there's more things coming in 2027, so I'm not going to look too far after this. So I'm really just curious how the deal impacts this year. But we are just not in a position to be able to say. Because, like, right now, there is not a player or position on this team that could not be improved. Like, flat out. So, like, yes, right. Miles Robinson could be a theoretical better player. So could Buka, so could Denke, so could Evander, so could Salentano. Like, it's just a silly game. You will drive yourself insane.
I would be disappointed if they made Buka a designated player. Like, I like Pavel at his spot. But if they gave Pavel a designated player deal, I would have questions about it.
Sure.
You know? And, like, I think, aside from using that spot on a CB, I question whether it makes sense to, like, sign a designated player that doesn't make your team better than it is.
Right.
And like, Miles on a TAM deal is, I don't know, I'll say irreplaceable. You know? Or, like, border as irreplaceable as it gets. Right?
Yeah.
Miles on a DP deal, one, he's already on the roster, right? So whatever they think about how they did last year, giving him a DP deal doesn't get them closer to their goals.
Right.
It just doesn't. But also, like, you can look around the world and find a whole bunch of center backs who are better than Miles Robinson, and there's like a non-zero chance that if another team signs a DP center back, it's a player who I don't know, who we think might be better than Miles Robinson, you know? And I don't like,
sure.
I don't love that conversation. Like, I don't like that thought. But yeah, it really does change it when you pull the trigger on the designated player deal on a player's roster spot. Then, like, yes, anybody on the roster you could improve on.
Yeah.
But could you improve on them enough in a way that makes sense investing what it would take on the budget? Like, you could improve on Roman. Roman's on a perfectly reasonable deal, though.
Right.
For how good of a goalkeeper he is. It would probably cost you a lot more to meaningfully improve on him, and we probably don't want to spend our budget that way.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair. Like I said, I feel like there's no way that Miles escapes the ire of whatever happens or doesn't happen this season. Also, I mean, not for nothing, you talked about Miami, and I'm like, I don't want to compare this team to Miami just because I don't think that that's meaningful or interesting to compare us to a team that is just functioning by a different rule book than we appear to be functioning by. You can learn a lesson in this, and I talked about it earlier. I've been kind of pink-pilled on this. I don't care about defense anymore. Like, score 4 goals. Like, score 4 goals and challenge the other guy to score 3. Like, that's how they won. Like, they won by being good enough at defense and just obliterating people with high-power, up-tempo offense. And that appears to be the OP strategy in MLS. Denny Bouanga and Hyun-Min Son up top, good luck catching up with us. We got a couple guys at the back. We'll let you know if they're good enough at the end of the year. And I think it's goal prevention in a league that is so heavily dominated by attacking talent feels like a massive fool's errand. So We'll see. I don't know. I would love to hear a more definitive analysis of this from Chris Albright. Like, explain to me what it is that you see from Miles Robinson that made it so imperative that he not walk out the building and that he couldn't be replaced by somebody who was maybe a slightly lesser player, but definitely a player that kept more of your options open for your roster build. And maybe there's numbers and maybe there's stuff that we're not privy to that explains this, that they're looking at from an analytical side of things. I don't know, but I would love to know just what their thought process is, or even hear the answer to the question that if this is a viable strategy, why does nobody else do it? Like if this is, you say, okay, there's a lot of different ways to win. Nashville just launched Walker Zimmerman, and they didn't replace him with a DP center back. We're the only team doing that. So explain to me why this zig is an appropriate zig against everybody else's zag, and also why it's appropriate when you're openly telling everyone we need to be better at goal creation. Miles Robinson doesn't create a single goal. Doesn't do it. If he does, it's by accident. It's not what he's paid to do. It's not what his position does. So if you're telling me that the biggest challenge facing this team is goal creation and that we're focusing on XG, you gave one of your three biggest deals to a guy that doesn't move that needle. And so I'm just curious why. And if that's the biggest focus, your resource allocation doesn't align with that as a focus. And that's interesting to me.
Yeah, and I think the explanation just has to be more nuanced than what we have. Like,
yeah. Well, I'm afraid that the explanation is that in 2027 there are going to be roster changes that make all this more palatable, and that we're just eating vegetables in 2026 because there was no way to keep Miles Robinson under contract for the next 3 years to get to those roster changes, other than just making the 2026 team worse and hamstringing our ability to compete in the short term. I think that's probably, if you dosed him with truth serum, I think that's part of the answer, and I hate that as someone who's paying for tickets in 2026. I don't really that I think that's a little strong of a response, but I do think that, I have an open mind for sure on liking the Miles Robinson deal. But explanations that don't move the needle for me are he's the best center back in MLS, or he's the best center back on our team, or his price on the open market is $3 million, right? Like, those arguments don't move the needle for me because it's MLS, Okay, he's the best center back at MLS. MLS doesn't have a lot of good center backs. It's not a center back heavy league. It's an attacking player league.
Yeah.
Like, being the best attacker at MLS is way more impressive than being the best center back in MLS, because it means you're better than Messi, or you are Messi, right?
or you are, yeah.
And price on the open market being $3 million. It's like, yeah, but the market's mostly not operating in a salary cap league. And
if the market says he's worth $3 million, then I'm more interested. What could you have gotten for $5 million? Because money's no object when it comes to designated players. So, he's the best center back in MLS. Great. Who's the best center back in La Liga? Did we talk to him?
Who's the best? Who's the best center back whose contract is expiring after this season?
Right.
Is there like a 32-year-old guy in one of the top 3 or 4 European leagues who's looking for another deal and would happily take, $5 million to play here? I'd say probably, yeah.
Yeah. Just to be an annoying fact checker, Chief, you'll be happy to know that there is Thiago Martins, who is the center back for NYCFC, team that made the Eastern Conference Finals, traveled further in the playoffs than FC Cincinnati, who is a designated player center back. So there is.
And yet Justin Hack was the guy and Justin Hack was the star of the show. So that's not really a strong.
I'm just saying.
Fair enough, though. Fair enough.
There is another one on a half decent team.
But nobody is like the teams that made all the cup finals
Of
are
course.
not rocking with DP center backs.
Let's see. Of the cup finals,
Philly's trying to figure out how little they can play. They can pay
that is true.
for players.
I was thinking, though, of Leagues Cup and MLS Cup, the two teams that made the final were two teams that had the Club World Cup GAM bonus, which is probably worth noting. And then Vancouver doing whatever it was Vancouver was doing last year, making it to...
Dark Magic is the answer.
Yeah. CCL and MLS Cup final.
Yeah. I guess factoring into all this, too, is, there is open roster space and there is money now. We did finish the signing of Luca Orellano in our little interim window right there. He's off to Monterey, I think, for somewhere between $6 and $7 million.
Good business.
I am hoping that they figured out a way to structure that so that we get the GAM bonus next year, or maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe they've been told the GAM system is going away in 2027, and it really doesn't matter how the bonus hits. But either way, I hope that they've structured that in whatever way offers the most financial incentive for the team or financial ability for the team. Luca, hell of a 1 year. I guess I'm happy that someone else is going to pay to find out who the real Luca Orellano is.
Yeah,
because I'm not certain. But at the very least, that is a damn near close to, I believe, max TAM salary that is no longer on the books for the 2026 side. And, possibly, he was a wing back. We're down to what, one wing back that's like on the team right now with Ender Echenike?
Ender Echenike, who should point out, for just the sake of this conversation, when he was first deployed, first started a game, started as a striker. And it was a very offensive, good-looking attack against the Portland Timbers when he was doing that. So,
I mean, I think that what else is Albright said that everything's on the table, and the moves they've made. The moves they've made, nothing appears at this point like they've locked themselves into any style of play or any formation at this point. If they start, signing more wingbacks, and we've seen reports of rumor that Brian Ramirez signing out of, I believe, Ecuador. Is that right?
Yeah. LDU Quito.
LDU
Pretty good team
Quito.
down there.
Yeah. That he is possibly in the mix for for an FC Cincinnati contract. It's been a while that he's been rumored in rumor terms.
I'm hoping he signs.
I don't know.
If only for this. It's not close enough for me to get. I have an LDU Quito scarf. It's one of the very few non-FCC scarves I own. And I would like that connection. I think that would be fun.
There you go. I think that he's a little positionally fluid. I think that he's another one that would be a winger that would be converted to wing back, I think. I don't know. I'm wise now, and I'm on the lookout now for any signs that this team may be changing what it's done. Going back to since basically they got blown out at Austin and abandoned the diamond midfield back in 2022. I'm just looking for anything that indicates that we're getting away from three at the back and the wing back formation. Maybe that's hopium, but I don't know. Like I'm kind of over this formation. Kind of the same way I think we all realized at some point in the last 18 months that I never want to see the sword formation again. Yeah. I'm kind of overseeing the three at the back formation, and I would love desperately if we got a signing that seemed to indicate that we were changing that.
Yeah, for what it's worth, Ramirez, he does seem to be strongly linked. I know, Grayson, you've been tracking this one. The team seems to believe it is done. I should say Quito seems to believe that he's gone. Where exactly he's off to, not clear. Apparently he has offers from Brazil. There was a late offer from someone in Europe. But all indication seems to be that he wants to move to the U.S. and where the team in the U.S. he's moving to. I was looking into him, and Chief, he is primarily a left back, but is known as being a pretty attacking left back, for whatever that's worth, right? Like, not unlike how say Kai Wagner has been primarily a left back, but pretty good at attacking, but not necessarily an out and out wing back there. But
I think
more
with
on
Kai Wagner, you have to use the term offensive wing back more than anything.
That is true. That is true. But Ramirez is more defender than attacker.
Primarily, I think he is. I think he is primarily an attacker. But
really,
he has played. He has played at wing back, and his team has deployed 3 center backs and played him at wing back.
Interesting.
So the fact that he has that experience does distinguish him from Orellano, who had only really been a forward attacking player.
Right.
So there would be more familiarity with the position, from what I could tell. And I admittedly did not chase down every possible source of data about the Ecuadorian league. Yeah. It seemed like as an attacker he played mostly on the right.
Yes.
As an inverted winger, which is similar to what Orellano had done before he came here and did a little bit here in his career. But he also has played a decent amount in the back as an outside wing back or outside back or whatever, and has done that on the left. So he does seem to be a lot on the dribbly side as well. But if he's effective and you have him on one wing and you have Ender Echenike on the other wing, it does give opponents some problems.
Maybe
because they can't just focus on one side.
Yeah, to me, what I'm really looking for this offseason and where I'm hoping that the rumors eventually take us is I really, really want us to put someone else on in the midfield. I want to find a way where you're getting, or a formation where you're getting Evander, Pavel, Obi, and Guidi on the field at the same time. Just because I feel like it doesn't matter. Okay, now they have 2 sides of the field to worry about. Cool. No one has worried about the sides of FC Cincinnati in years when they can just go and they can just knife us directly through the middle because there's just so little resistance in the midfield, and especially when you're playing one midfielder in Evander who just doesn't want to play defense at all, and so you're effectively defending with 2 midfielders at all times. Finding a way to get that third one on the field, I think, would be with how they have the roster constituted. You got to get all your money on the field. And in terms of who your best players are, I don't think if you were making a list of the best 11 players on FC Cincinnati, I think Obi and Guidi would both be on that list. So let's talk a little bit about what we can do formation-wise to get our best 11 players on the field at the same time.
Yeah, and I don't really disagree with that. And I'll say this: if they add a midfielder and start playing a 4-man back, and then you look at your 2 center backs are Miles and Miazga, I think it helps you make your case for why you gave Miles Robinson that DP deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have. I'm not saying it gets you all the way there. But I think you have a better case for this is a good use of a DP spot when you're playing 2 center backs and not 3.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. So the problem there is your left and right back for this case is Alvis Powell.
That is your problem. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna need to see some movement there. I will say on the Ramirez thing, looking at Transfer Market, you're exactly correct, Grayson. I was looking at another scouting thing that called him primarily a left back. So I don't know what information I was dealing with there. So I
also wouldn't be surprised if we get a, let's say, Brad Smith type.
Yeah.
Like a Smith type who plays outside back.
That
for
would
depth.
Track. Yeah, there's
maybe
an
somebody
idea
with experience
that
playing on either side.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely think it's worth keeping an eye on. I mean, think about, too, a 4-man midfield where your backups at this case would be Anunga and Dado for now, right? Like, that's a pretty good backbench for a four-man midfield, and you could absolutely have Denke and let's put a Tam-ish striker up there to compete with Jabari in some replacement level left and right backs. I mean, that's fine. That's a competent MLS build. Most teams tend to skimp on the outside backs as it is. Maybe that's Ender up there. Maybe you teach Ender defense and he just has that ability to charge forward if and when possible.
Yeah. The problem is the Brian Ramirez signing doesn't appear to portend a formation shift. It looks like,
I would agree.
It looks like a like for like coming in terms of position. In fact, probably the most obvious like wing back style of player we've brought in a while, given that he's actually played the position and there's that offensive bend that he has, which is how we like our wing backs. We like our wing backs to be offensive guys we teach to play defense as opposed to defensive players we teach offense to. That tends to have not gone the way we wanted. Hence why you saw Lucas Engel move to center back, because he just didn't have that what you were looking for going forward, and why the team was so crippled down one side of the field with DeAndre Yedlin playing on it, because he just didn't have the attacking chops to go forward. So that's unfortunate, just because like when you talk like to big picture like we have been the entire time, like if the roster isn't going to get a lot better, if there's not a lot of room to add high-level talent to the team, you have to look at like where is this team going to get better in terms of adding those goals and adding that to that XG tally that Albright was talking about. And if it isn't players, it's going to have to be tactics. And if it's tactics, one of the biggest things that you could like wrap your head around as a fan and say, okay, I see the vision of why last year and this year will be different. It would be a formation change where, okay, we have seen all this problem with getting Denke involved in the offense. We're going to add another midfielder that can be another person that can push forward and can distribute and find Denke in dangerous spaces. And we're not going to be so heavily reliant on three midfielders, one of which wants to join the attack and wants to be receiving passes as opposed to facilitating. A formation change maybe makes that a possibility. If you're not changing the formation, now you're just relying on, maybe within this formation, some new patterns of play from a new offensive coordinator, for lack of a better term, can lead to that improvement. But you're whittling away at like the things where this team could improve from 2025 to 2026. And that's putting a lot of pressure on get better at playing this formation that has produced below average offensive results in each successive year since 2022.
Yeah, I think it's completely fair. I will also just throw out there, teenage Hadabi at left back. Come on, let's get weird with it. I've got ideas. Okay, Hadabi at left back.
It's blank stares looking back at you on that one.
Hagelin at right back. We got this. It'll be fine.
No,
this feels very Yopstom coded. It's just guys horrendously out of position.
Caleb Stanko at right back. Hear me out, guys. I've got a good idea. Joe Zhao at left back.
Bring back Justin Hoyt.
Still open. Last seen at the open bar at Jimmy McLaughlin's wedding last week.
Nice. Oh, God.
Congrats,
does that
Jimmy.
do it for a FC Cincinnati news roundup? Do we get to move to the next part? Am I missing anything else? That's it for player rumors, I should say, and outgoings. The Dado trade rumor is still out there. No movement on that front. So there you go. All right, let's head on over to part 2. Let's answer some Patreon questions, and let's get out of here. All right, we are back, and speaking of the Patreon, made some changes. I don't even know if I ran these changes by you guys when I made these changes, so this is fun.
Sure didn't.
Just, hey, you know
it's
what?
all right. Every so often I log in and there's news.
We're gonna change things up, and everybody's gonna be just fine with it. Okay? If you didn't see, posted a little video on YouTube. It made its way up there on the socials. But we made a couple of changes to the Patreon. One, if you're a subscriber, thank you, huge thank you. Nothing changes for you negatively. If anything, you get a positive. You get ad-free versions of the podcast going forward. There's going to be a specific feed in the Patreon that you can subscribe to that will give you ad-free versions of the podcast. So there you go. You have that to look forward to. There is also a new tier. It is $9 a month. And with that, you get a little discount on some merchandise, which is now up on our website. Go check that out. By the way, it's all brand new merchandise. But it also gets you access to a once-a-month virtual happy hour that we're going to host. People can come on, hang out. It'll be like your own personal little live show. It'll be a good time. We'll hang out. We'll schedule that at least a week or two in advance so people have a chance to check it out. We'll probably record it for anybody who can't make it. Come hang out. There'll be a little less, I don't know. They'll be a little more loosey-goosey. Okay, there might be some more movie talk there, some Broadway world talk there. We'll see how it goes. It may not be, sharing FCC hot takes so much there, but all of that is there. Plus the $9 value gets you all of the other tier below's value as well. Now, a perk that has always existed and will always exist in some way, shape, or form, I'm not going to make big pronouncements here, is our patrons on Patreon get to ask us questions that we then answer on the show. So happy to be able to do this. And in December, created a phone number where people could leave a voicemail. So happy to all one of you who did this. And so I have one voicemail for us to listen to. The rest of these are written questions. There were a couple of voicemails for Mallory from a nail salon. I'm going to assume that has nothing to do with Patreon. I'm not going to play those. But this one here is from Brock.
Hi, this is Brock. Tell me your best work holiday party story. And if you don't have any, can you please ask Postcast legend Evan Moreau his? Thanks.
So the question, if you could not hear that, was please tell me your best work holiday party story. And if you don't have one, can you please ask Postcast legend Evan Moreau his? Do we have any workplace
I would love to know if the FC
stories?
Does the FC have like a players' holiday party? I would love to know the answer to that question.
There can't be, right? Like
it's an HR nightmare.
Right? They're also like just not here during the holidays. Just MLS Cup or no. It's just we're weeks into the off season. These guys are from all over the world. But do we have an office holiday or a work holiday party that is of note or interest?
I've had a few. There was one time where the office holiday party, for some reason, included a DJ, and one brave employee decided to start grinding with his girlfriend at the time on the dance floor when nobody else was dancing.
Nice.
That
Good.
was
Great.
That's
decision.
a choice at a holiday party, at an office holiday party. Is to number one, bringing your spouse to a holiday work party is a choice that you should decline making if you have the opportunity to do so. That's just not a great time for your significant other. And even if it is usually like, some people bring their wives and significant others or husbands to the holiday party, yours can always have something else going on that prevents them from being there that night. It is the one true gift you can give your partner in life is not having to go hang out with your work friends for the evening. The other one that comes to mind was we had a work holiday party at my old job where for some reason, they decided to host it at the Sharonville Convention Center in like one of those like divided rooms.
Yes.
And you know how they put the divider up, and it's like it breaks the room in half, but it doesn't stop you from knowing what's going on in the other room.
Right.
And the other room was having, I think, a wedding reception or a bar mitzvah or something like that. But either way, the music was incredibly loud. And there was, at one point in the office party, they decided to recognize, employees over the course of the year who had done something or whatever. And then they decided to recognize an employee who had tragically passed away during the year.
Oh, no.
And then had their grieving, I forget, family member come up to accept some award on their behalf.
Oh,
but because the wall was so thin, there's
no.
this incredibly heartfelt speech being given while Usher's Yeah plays in the background at very, very high volume.
No.
And we're all just sort of sitting there uncomfortably as like Ludacris gives his rap breakdown at the end of it while she's attempting to talk about how much this workplace meant to her family member.
Oh my God. That's so bad.
Just awkwardly sitting there. And then there was a woman that was at my table at that party who was a food hoarder who started like dumping all of the bread and things that were on the table into her purse to take home, and then left the party.
That's always
Evan doesn't have a story.
Damn.
Because he's never had a job other than soccer.
Oh my God, he's probably
does
never
say
had a
right there.
holiday party. Or a
Right.
work
So he
holiday
does
party.
say ask him. He does say ask him in a few years, so he's sure he'll have a banger by then.
We'll follow back up. The podcast will be long dead, but we still got to get that answered.
Tell him sorry for bothering him during Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. So the I don't really have I've never been at like a workplace that had like that was wild in any way.
Yeah.
So like it's not a good story by any means, but the most awkward I've ever felt at a holiday party for work was there was one year we had it at some event space, and there was it was like an open bar situation. You do whatever, but I had I think it was like 2 months on the job, so I was like, I'm not going to drink at all here.
Right.
So I went up to the bartender and I just asked for a club soda, and I thought I would get like a club soda and be able to like play it off. They gave me the club soda in like a pint glass.
So, man, you're here for a good time tonight.
So,
Starting off with the double.
And it even had like a lime on it.
Oh no.
It like looks like I'm either having like a giant gin and tonic,
Right.
or I'm drinking like Sprite like a child.
Right. You don't come out good in that version, right?
You gotta pass it off like, look, I just hate waiting in line for drinks, so I always do 2 at a time.
Yeah, right. Company's
Ball
paying for it, am I right? Drop that line. No, I'm with Grayson. Never had like a wild holiday party or anything. It's not even a good story, but it is something that happened at the last holiday party I was at, which was it was ultimately a bowling outing with the company, and it had one of the touch tones, and I just kept playing Limp Bizkit over and over and over, and everybody was very confused.
It's a great idea
As to why Limp
Hell
Bizkit
yeah.
kept playing. I was just like, I don't know, man. This is crazy. This keeps happening. And that was it. I never told anybody that it was me.
Buddy of mine gets on the touch tunes that like just picks like places at random and throws on K-pop Demon Hunters.
Hell yeah.
The other one I like to do
I consider it a
please.
great night out at the bar if the bartender shuts the touch tunes off, because I've been so awful with my music choices. Like I got the touch tunes shut down at a bar a couple weeks ago where my friend and I were just dueling back and forth as to who could play the worst song, and I finally played the Kids Bop version of Katy Perry.
Oh,
Which, why is that on touch tunes? Like, why is Kids Bop available for drunk me to play and annoy other people in the bar? That's not even my fault.
Great inside joke with old bowling team of mine is to play Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald on TouchTunes. It is always available. It is a 7-minute long, super slow song. It's great.
Oh yeah, it's actually funny. My nephew got obsessed somehow with the Titanic. He's 5, which is like I feel way too young to be obsessed with the Titanic.
Yeah.
But that has since morphed into just obsessions with shipwrecks, to where like he knows about all these famous shipwrecks, like the way only a child who knows every dinosaur and like how tall they are, like that level of obsession, like obsession with knowing about the Titanic. But he's moved on and like loves the Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, the song, like asks to play that from his mom, like when they're driving around in the car.
Chief, on that note, we have a question from Cuccio. What's your favorite dinosaur and why? What a transition.
Wow. Archaeopteryx?
I don't know this one.
Dinosaur, flying dinosaur? Bird?
They always draw it with the feathers on it.
Yeah, it's got the feathers on it. Yeah. It's like the original fossil that they found that had like feathers on it. Like it's very like it's like the most famous fossil you can ever imagine is like the Archaeopteryx fossil. And it's rad.
There you go. Grayson,
terrorizing death bird.
Yeah, it used to be Barney, but we kind of had a thing, and I don't want to go into it, but it's just it was a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with the baby from the show Dinosaurs.
Classic.
The baby, you gotta love him.
Not the mama.
Yeah, he always knows who's the mama and who's not the mama.
Not the mama. Yeah. You ever see the end of that? You ever see the end of that show?
Yeah.
Like there's a plot line going the entire last season about the asteroid getting closer, and like various people on talking head shows debating whether or not this is actually a big deal or not. And the asteroid hits and the show's over.
Perfect ending.
It's the darkest ending to a TV show.
But they're dinosaurs. It's looming in the background no matter what, right? Like, that's great.
Right.
Albertosaurus.
Kevin, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Albertosaurus, because in second grade, I don't know why, I declared that my favorite dinosaur. So that is still
Is that
my
the
favorite
formal name of the Allosaurus? You guys, you're not close enough with the Allosaurus. You can call him you can call him Al.
Well, first off, his name is
his
Albert.
Canadian cousin.
No, Albertosaurus is his own thing. It's kind of like a mid-sized T-Rex. So there you go.
Right. Big fan of the Calgary Flames, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
just based on the name.
He's a huge hockey guy. You should see his teeny tiny little arms out there on the ice.
Right. Big hoser.
He's got some thoughts about the direction Edmonton has gone in recent years.
Some would call him a dinosaur. So yeah, I would track that he would have have some older takes here.
Huge Bret Hart mark back in the 90s too.
Okay, so we have a question.
Right,
now, keep in mind, some of these are 3 weeks old, so there's going to be... I'll throw that context out there for you. Key says, the season is over, and we have 0 trophies. It is clear something needs to change, and we all know what it is. We need to officially get rid of that butt crack of a song, Mr. Brightside. Now, I'm not one to complain about something and not offer a solution, which is clearly unstoppable by Foxy Shazam. My question is, will you take up this just cause and be the change you want to see with this team? Do the right thing and replace that rancid fart of a song, Mr. Brightside, with one that deserves its flowers from the Cincy faithful. On a similar note, I will say, Bill Leopold asks, I am asking the Chief to take up the mantle of Life is a Highway by the Cochrane? Cochrane? Not that scrappy country western version that just came out to replace Mr. Brightside. Perhaps Grayson...
I think just came out like 20 years ago in the movie
on the Cars 2, the soundtrack, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, by Rascal Flatts. Yeah.
Bill Leopold is up to date with his Disney covers. But he does throw in here this.
Dude, I'm all in on hating the Rascal Flats, so cook.
They're from Columbus, right? Like, I think we have to hate them.
Don't care where they're from.
Perhaps Grayson can jump on the Shazam bandwagon. I love that Bill is suggesting the two of you strongly advocate for different songs. Like, that's not going to help either one.
So I have a
feel about
plan
this?
to end Mr. Brightside. I have a plan to end Mr. Brightside. Okay, and it touches on what we were talking about a couple questions ago. There is a certain bar that I know has touch tunes, and I know may pose an opportunity to just spam Mr. Brightside on the touch tunes if it hits the right ears.
It's going to drive him nuts.
So I've got like a long game here.
It's gonna be a rough patch for someone.
Yeah, Chief, you've been called out. You've been called out for Life is a Highway by Tu Cochran, which I'll be honest, guys, I had no idea there was an original.
No, it's the original song's really good, actually. I am of the mind that, like, so there was an article that Laurel Failer put out that was the result of an MLS fan survey. That I don't know who was taking this survey, but apparently the question that was listed as to where people get their FC news, and like we were ranked abnormally high on that list. So I feel there is an opportunity to say, as the one of the top 15 places people get their FC news, that we are, on behalf of our fans, collectively advocating that Mr. Brightside be retired for the 2026 season. Like, we're not here to be anti Mr. Brightside. It's just that its time has come and its time has gone, and it is time to embrace a new path forward for the in-stadium experience. Chris Albright commented on that we need to get back to making TQL Stadium and leveraging our assets. And one of the assets, he said, was we have a great home stadium and a great environment to play in. Well, maybe it's time to make TQL great again. There's probably a better way I can phrase that.
We need to. The song needs to be "Try That in a Small Town."
And for that reason, I'm suggesting Gordon Lightfoot's "Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald,"
or "Beer for My Horses."
Could we
something off Toby Keith's "Shock and Y'all"?
It's a shame that bar closed. Could we not rally behind Foxy Shazam's Unstoppable? Because this is ultimately the issue. We need to come together on one song, and I know whatever we pick is not going to be every single person's song of choice, but we got to pick one. And I think we can all agree that Mr. Brightside needs to go.
Right, so like that's where I'm at right now, is that to answer this question, no, I will not get behind Life is a Highway, although it is a certified banger. I will also not get behind Foxy Shazam's Unstoppable, because the war I want to win is merely to get consensus that Mr. Brightside needs to be retired. Right. That's step one.
Get it out.
Get it out. Like,
what happens with the vacuum afterwards, none of our business.
None of our business. Look,
just
like,
get
the
it
goal
out
is
there.
to get it out.
Wait, hang on.
Get it out. Get it to New York. Get it to New York where it can stand trial.
Can
for
we
the charges
indict a song?
that, of the many. Well, I mean, look,
you could have died a ham sandwich,
right? And like the song is talking about some pretty heinous moral acts. I don't know if they're crimes, but I mean, the man is not doing just fine.
Depending on where the smoking happened,
illegal.
It could be illegal.
Undressing,
illegal
perhaps in public. Yeah.
Yep.
She's taking her dress off. That's not allowed.
That's illegal, depending on where you do it. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, if you are in a position where you are trying to say we need to remove Mr. Brightside and repeal and replace
jealousy, 7 deadly sin.
Yeah. Not in my America anymore.
I don't want to end up with Gwyneth Paltrow's head in a box again.
Again.
That's where this is heading.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to throw out there.
Next question.
Foxy Shazam is the way to go. Okay.
That'd be a fun. That'd be a fun stadium game. What's in the box?
What's in the box? Well,
You
not
just-
Kevin Denke, unfortunately.
You just play Brad Pitt screaming like "What's in the box," and then you have like a member of the audience guess what's in the box. Come on.
Do you do the thing where they get to like reach in and feel it, but it's like you don't know what it is? Yeah, that'd be
No,
good.
you just guess what's in the box.
Oh,
Right.
there's
Justin Timberlake had a song about this.
Yeah. Okay. Moomba asks, since it's silly season, draft words that begin with P. We all get 2 picks. First pick goes to Chief.
Why pee? Like, why that?
It is
Come on.
the silly
go.
season. And P is definitely
It is-
the
You're on the
silliest
clock,
letter.
man.
Penultimate.
Penultimate. That's good.
Perpendicular.
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 I'm going to go with pterodactyl, right? No. What's the pterodactyl.
Yeah.
You can do
I'm
it.
trying to think
Silent
of another
P. Yeah,
silent
pterodactyl.
P. Pneumonia. There you go. Those are my 2. Grayson, back to you.
Peripatetic.
Okay. And
Phylum.
Chief- Phylum. That's fun. There you go, Moomba. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Thanks for paying for that. Daniel David says,
What we do.
I called, no answer. Okay, Daniel, I think you are missing the point of a voicemail, but yes, okay, you called, there was no answer, so you've left your
Kevin, just a typical millennial afraid of talking on the phone, right, Kevin?
I'll tell you what, if you call and leave a voicemail, and for some reason I am able to see that somebody is calling, I will answer the phone. There you go. What Christmas movie you stop on a channel you have to finish? I think I know what Daniel's trying to ask here. You're watching cable, you're flipping through. What Christmas movie gets you to stop to finish watching that Christmas movie? Anybody have
Christmas
one?
Vacation, obviously. Yeah.
It's a good one.
It's the only movie that I want to make sure that I watch every Christmas season. And, in fact, did this Christmas
Nice.
season.
Grayson, is there one that you're just like, I'll catch it anywhere and I'll finish it?
I mean, Elf will catch my eye, right? You could pick up Elf at any point in
Yeah.
the movie.
Elf's good. Elf's ending is not as fun to like just watch. It's definitely funnier in the beginning, but yeah, I'd go with that. It's a Wonderful Life for me. It's really long. It was royalty free forever, so like it was always on TV, and yeah, I think it's a fun one to jump on.
So on my
please.
plane recently,
Yeah,
they had "It's a Wonderful Life" as one of the options, and
Yeah.
I was like, I haven't watched it in full this year. Perfect opportunity. It was the colorized version.
I've seen a lot of
How
people
dare they, first off.
going with the colorized version. I've seen it once. It's
No,
okay.
why?
But it's not.
It
It's not
doesn't
the
make
movie.
me feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to watch it
Other
out of
one,
pure
if it's
curiosity.
on. Other one that I would watch if it's on, just because it is a banger, and my favorite adaptation of the work is A Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good.
It's different.
Fine.
It's different.
Okay.
Home Alone too. Sneaky good movie. We watched
Home
that.
Alone as well.
Yeah, like Home Alone.
Ooh, wait.
They don't make movies like that anymore. Even kids movies. Like, good stuff.
I felt like Grayson was
I
offering
watched
a
Home Alone.
anti-Home Alone 2 take there.
Home Alone 2 is fine. It's just not as good as Home Alone 1.
Yeah, the premise is more forced in Home
Yeah,
Alone
of
2.
course, of
The
course.
addition of the Talk Boy as a Christmas toy tie-in is fantastic. Just Home Alone 1 is, there's something about it. There's a good feeling about it. I also wandered down a great internet fight, like truly like something for which the fight button should have alerted me sooner. about people attempting to debate whether or not the church Kevin goes into is a Catholic church or not, even though it's, working class. It's like not working class, but like it's obviously affluent Chicago suburbs, heavily Catholic area, but that there is a transept and an orchestra screen which would make it decidedly Protestant and not Catholic, but there are statues of saints all around, which you only find primarily in Catholic churches. This went on for a very long time with people getting very mad at one another trying to determine what this was. And it was just, I love the internet that during this holiday season, we're truly fighting about whether or not.
Couldn't they be Episcopalian?
I was going to say, or Anglican.
The eventual end result.
Well, Episcopalian is Anglican.
Right,
if you're in the United States, and I
Yes.
apologize if I'm offending somebody with this, but if you're in the United States and you see a church that calls itself Anglican, don't go in. There's weird stuff going on in there.
You're going to pray to Henry VIII instead of God.
But I watched. I was with some children last week, and we watched Home Alone 3 at their insistence.
Oh no!
And like obviously it's not good.
Right.
And I didn't think it would be good, but the ending is so disorienting because they get a woman who's got like red hair. It's clearly they're intentionally like dressing her up like Catherine O'Hara at the end of Home Alone 1 and trying to like absolutely like copy that tender moment like one for one, and it just hits the uncanny valley so much where it is like it's like that movie Changeling where like I'm Angelina Jolie and people are telling me like this is my child. I'm like, no, this is not my child.
No,
in fact,
this is wrong.
Like, I want to get rid of it.
Not for nothing, the original Home Alone, John Candy, banger cameo in that movie. Like he's like way too good to be in that movie.
Yes. What I find very funny about Home Alone 3, written and produced by John Hughes. It's like,
yeah, crazy.
Should have been better.
I couldn't believe it.
My kids have demanded
Scarlett
that we
Johansson
watch it
in that movie.
Oh, wow. I did not know. My
She
kids
plays
have
his
demanded
sister.
that we watch it, and I've refused. I refuse to acknowledge it. Eric Skidmore, we got two left. This is one of them. Eric Skidmore asks, seeing other FCC
Skidmark.
fans in the wild can be rare sometimes, but other sports fans will see each other at a store or something and say "Hoo Day" or "Go Bucks" to one another as a casual greeting. What is a good fan phrase we can come up with for the FC when we randomly see someone else who's wearing FCC gear? Just saying "Go FCC" seems kind of lame. And I would agree with you, Eric. Let's solve this
So first
problem.
of all, it would be Go FC.
Yeah.
Fuck Columbus.
It would be Go FC. Two, listen to the postcast.
listen to the postcast.
Listen to the postcast. Listen to the postcast. That's the calling card. Listen to the postcast.
Oh my God! You also listen to the postcast? Just assume everybody in the gear is also a listener.
Yeah, that is. What is up the Go FC?
Listen
I
to
think
the
you
postcast.
got to be like,
Listen to the postcast.
I'm not movable from this position.
So Grayson has his opinion. I think my suggestion would be something along the lines of "Gary bless you" or "In Gary's name" or something. I'm trying to evoke Gary, and I'm fine
Under
with doing,
Gary's eye.
Gary's protection upon thee.
Gary be with thee.
Gary be with you is pretty
I mean,
good.
if it's not going to be listen to the postcast, it should probably be rise together, and the person responds fries together.
Fries together.
It's either that
It's
or
a call and response. It's perfect.
somebody yells "ignite," the other person yells "unite," because that's something that we are always saying out loud, as the marketing team, I'm sure, assumes as well. Yeah, rise together, fries together is the answer.
I still find myself sometimes just like saying to myself, "Rise together, rise together."
It is timeless. This is true.
Because what?
If folks don't recognize this bit, for the longest time in USL, FC Cincinnati's slogan of sorts was "Rise Together." They still use that, and you'll see that a little bit these days. But there was a Wendy's sideline board that just said "Rise Together, fries together," and I think there might have been a promotion for like a free medium fry after wins. I could be wrong about that piece of it. But then Jonah made "Rise Together, fries together" a part of the sign-off for Knifey Lion Radio, and it stuck around long after the promotion and the deal ended, whatever. But "Rise Together, fries together" is really funny.
If there is somebody out there, there's somebody that owns a restaurant that serves fries and wants to pay us for a sponsorship, I will change the sign-off of this podcast to "Fries Together" for the remainder of the year. I will make that happen.
Surely nobody.
And if you want to call me
owns...
"Fuck Columbus, fries together."
"Rise Together, fries together" can't be trademarked or copywritten. Like that's fair game. We got to be able to use it.
And honestly, I don't want to find out. If someone wants to send us a cease and desist of a "Rise Together, fries together," I'll enjoy it. I would like it.
Kevin, how fast can we get a "Rise Together, fries together" shirt on the shop?
Tonight, before this episode releases. Let's see what happens.
If it's orange and blue, I'll buy it.
It's yellow and black because the French fries, of course.
No,
okay.
We don't.
Nearly 3 years into the Messi signing, this is from Soccer Account. So, you know it's going to be a good one. Nearly 3 years into the Messi signing. Right. Not a Fed. What's going on here? Nearly 3 years into the Messi signing, and I'm at a loss as to what he's done to improve or even change MLS for anyone but Miami. Are league owners reaping additional revenues because of him? Maybe I'm missing something. But at the fan level of things, I just feel slightly worse. Doesn't help that league-paid media guys are not only falling over themselves to praise Messi, but are now taunting fan bases who have questions about the roster building occurring in Miami. I don't understand how any of this is worth it for the average fan and long-term sustainable league growth. There's not a question.
I mean, you're not going to know the answer to that question. No, I mean, like, to the extent that they're like, you're not going to know any of this until you see, where is the league at after he's gone? In terms of how many of these fans that are Messi fans around the world did they create into being aware of MLS, or in the United States, how many people went to one of these games, played at, the Cleveland Browns Stadium, or who will go see him play at the Baltimore Ravens Stadium, and decide that they're going to now be, followers of MLS, whether that means, buying merch, buying a ticket occasionally, showing up to games, buying the league pass. I don't know that there's a great answer for that, but I mean, what you do know is that they've got the Apple TV deal. They've used him while he's here to make some big changes to the scheduling of the league, which, they were resistant to do for a really long time, for better or worse. They're going to be relaxing roster rules. Is this all attributable to Leo Messi personally? No, not at all. But, it's all one song, and it's all part of the sort of overall growth of the league. Do they make these changes without him? I don't know. I don't know, whether you can make a one-to-one on that. I think they haven't leveraged the Messi deal nearly enough. I don't think they've done as much as they could in order to maximize what he's done. But, to the greatest extent possible, I think that it hasn't been a loss for the league. And if you've managed to sell your tickets at a premium while he's been here, you might have personally put a couple bucks in your pocket. That's about as best as I can say about the deal right now. I just don't know that you're going to know. Kind of like how the David Beckham deal for, LA Galaxy, the long-term ramifications of that, you didn't know that for years after the fact.
So I would keep my eye on two things. One is, as Chief mentioned, the roster rule changes that we think are coming after the World Cup. Now, I think it's reasonable to assume that they were probably planning some kind of pivot or some kind of revamp after the World Cup because they're expecting to have a lot of eyes on American soccer, and it's the natural time to do that. So it'll be tough to kind of isolate how much was already kind of a natural opportunity to make some of these changes and how much of that is like directly related to whatever growth or impact Messi has had. The other thing that I would look at and probably provide some useful data is we know they accelerated the end of the Apple TV deal to come up a lot sooner.
Yeah.
I think after 27, right? Or after the short season of 27?
It's after the, not the short season, but after the full first season of the new format.
Yeah. So this is 2 years away, but what's the next TV deal? What's the next broadcast deal look like? Like we know what they got from Apple. We know they felt like it was better for the league to get out of Apple sooner. So what does the next broadcast deal look like? And I think that we're unlikely to get a lot of like hard numbers on how many people are following the league who wouldn't be following the league if Messi wasn't here. How many of those people stick with the league after Messi's gone? But you do know that broadcast partners are going to get access to whatever data they want to see when they enter into a contract. So if the next broadcast deal is really favorable for the league, then it tells you, I think, that it's at least contributed to great improvement in the league's profile. Because part of the reason they ended up with the Apple deal in the first place is the alternative options were just not good.
Yeah. They were rough.
There wasn't there was no great deal out there.
No.
Other than them to have
there wasn't a close deal out there.
There certainly wasn't like a bidding war. There were a couple of bad options, and then the Apple deal, which obviously came with a number of risks, but was the only one that approached a valuation that they were happy with. I'll say two things.
But it has made it easier for people around the world to see Messi.
Yeah, which I think was huge.
Because
and should have dropped the additional, or like the season pass on top of Apple TV Plus. Should have dropped that a while ago. We're doing that next year. That's good. Ownership in MLS at large is definitely making money off of this deal. I'm going to put my trust that the billionaire consortium behind MLS is pretty good at making money and signed off on this deal knowing that they would make money. I have to assume that they're making money. Keep in mind, your various ownership groups in MLS all sort of co-own Major League Soccer, so what's good for the league is ultimately good for owners' pocketbooks. So in that sense, the league is benefiting. The other point I'll put out there is that Major League Soccer had already failed in the Miami market, so don't discount solidifying that market going forward. I think it's a really bad look for MLS to have to contract teams or relocate teams, and anything that goes to help shoring up MLS, a franchise, particularly in Miami. It's an attractive market with or without Messi, particularly for South American players. It's sort of known as the capital of Latin America for a reason. It's a very popular vacation and holiday spot for the world's best soccer players already. It's probably would do the league very well to make sure that franchise is doing nicely. And then finally here, we're not going to draft one, but I think we can build one together. Tom Beversdorf says, holiday request here, make a starting 11 of holiday characters. Don't limit yourself to just the U.S. meaning characters like Krampus from Germany or even Colonel Sanders from Japan is on the table. What's our starting 11 of Christmas or holiday characters? Sorry, holiday characters. What do we think?
I'm going to say number 1 is the Mall Santa. Not Santa specifically, the Mall Santa.
Mall Santa. Okay, where are we putting Mall Santa? Mall Santa.
Center back.
Okay, perfect. I like it.
Flying Baby Jesus.
Flying Baby Jesus.
This is a Slavic. Pavel would know about this. This is a Slavic thing.
Okay.
Flying Baby Jesus brings your presence in certain countries. So Flying Baby Jesus got to be a striker.
Oh, striker.
Or winger.
Okay.
Wing back, flying down the wing.
Yeah, I like Flying Baby Jesus at striker.
Okay.
All right.
I like
Kevin?
it. I'm going to put Saint Nicholas, as in Saint Nicholas's Day, not Santa Claus. I'm going to put him at the 10 because I think he's very charitable. He's early, so lets the other people then come in and arrive into the box. I think it's great. I think that's where you need to be for a number 10.
All right, Snake back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Snake back. I'm putting Frosty the Snowman at wingback. I need somebody with versatility, somebody who can be both a snowman and a puddle of water, and I think that's key.
I'm going to put 10 Lords of Leaping at the other striker spot. I think it's going to be one. I like that. I like they have the aerial component for sure.
They are
and then
leaping,
2,
yes.
I think it's going to be tough to mark 10 guys. I think it's going to be tough to mark 10 guys doing the same gesture at the same time.
I mean, by this logic, we should have some drummers and maids of milking in some other positions here, but yes.
Now they don't have that verticality that you're looking for in the striker position.
It really is the verticality.
Yeah. All right. Box to box midfielder. Give me. Let's do Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer right there.
Yeah.
Like really, just all over the place. A little bit of a glory hound, but that's okay. You want that from a guy who has to be all places on the field. You want him believing he can go anywhere.
Yeah.
With his nose so bright. So box to box Rudolph. And then let's do another center back. Let's do the Grinch as another center back. Master of the Dark Arts.
I like it.
At the 6, I'm going Kirby from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. In particular, I'm leaning into his chosen profession of dentist. People may remember in D2 The Mighty Ducks, the most terrifying enforcer was nicknamed the Dentist, Gunnar Stahl. And so I feel like Kirby, as the dentist, is going to be kind of a feared enforcer at the back of the midfield.
I like this. Okay. Sticking in the same.
So we need a goalkeeper. Another center back.
And another center back, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So Abominable Snowman is going to be your goalkeeper. I'm going size here. Makes a lot of sense. We need a big guy who is going to be able to deflect the ball away. I think that's fine. Another center.
We're really going heavy with the Rankin and Bass here. I think we're eliminating.
Yeah. Another wing back then. Little Drummer Boy. Let's just keep him going. Okay. Specifically, the Rankin and Bass Little Drummer Boy.
And then we have one center back left, right?
Yeah, one center back. Yeah.
I'm gonna go away from the Rankin and Bass.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Mel Gibson from Fat Man.
All right.
Kind of a mean, dangerous Santa Claus.
Yeah.
I think the movie's called Fat Man.
It is now.
All right.
Incredible work. Well done. I know that question was asked with an attempt to make that closer to the holidays. We didn't do it, and that's as good as it gets.
Big miss on our part. Not Arnold Schwarzenegger from Jingle All the Way. He feels like he fits anywhere on the field, just given his athletic prowess.
What's the character's name? It's not like Rocket Man or something. What is the?
It's a Turbo
Man.
Turbo Man.
Looking for a Turbo Man action doll.
Turtle Man, if you ask Sinbad.
Yeah.
Yes. And all they had left was the pink sidekick dog monster thing with him. Oh, good stuff. All right, well, it's
a truly underrated Christmas classic, honestly.
It is really funny. It is one of my favorites.
Kevin's connection blows, or somebody's connection blows here.
Uh-oh. Am I slow here? Oh, it's probably me.
Yeah, you've been slow. That's okay.
You've been slow. Yeah.
Damn. Well, that'll mean
right, Chief,
fun editing for me. Chief, get us out of here.
Fuck Columbus.
The Cincy Postcast is a production of The Post Cincy. You can check us out online at thepostcincy.com. You can also follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky, Facebook, and Instagram. Twitter and Blue Sky, though, you'll find we're a little more active than the other places. We're also on YouTube, where you can listen to this episode if you aren't listening to it already. We are also putting up video content semi-regularly, including the Away Days series. We want to give a huge thank you to Jim Trace and the Makers for providing the music for this episode. They're a lovely band, and you can find more information out about them in the description of this episode. And if you happen to enjoy what you just heard, can I please ask that you like us, that you rate us on whatever app you're listening to, and maybe more importantly than all of that, share this episode with a friend. When it comes up at work, you're talking about FC Cincinnati, I say, hey, I listened to an FC Cincinnati podcast. I think you guys will like it. It would really, really help us out. Nothing helps a podcast travel more than a good recommendation from a friend, family member. That would be awesome. When it comes to the sorting algorithms that control our lives, a 5-star review would be much appreciated. Also, leaving a sort of written review weirdly does more than that. That's how the algorithms work. So maybe say a nice or a mean thing, whatever. Just as long as you give us 5 stars, that'll really, really, really help us out. And if you are looking for more MLS content, check out our other podcast, The World's Gam. Again, a link will be in the description of this episode. That is where we touch on league-wide storylines and news, and we talk about other games and a couple other teams in there as well. I think you will enjoy it if you are just dipping your toes into Major League Soccer. A huge thank you to all of our sponsors. A even bigger thank you to all of our patrons over at Patreon. But maybe most importantly, thank you for listening to this episode.